everyone, Terry Wellbrock here. Just wanted to take a moment to, one, welcome you to the show, and two, thank you for being here, for sharing and helping others find this inspirational podcast filled with amazing, hope-filled conversations from these wonderful guests. So I also wanted to remind everyone again, only because I'm so excited, so I'm going to keep telling you this, to please go to academy.terrywellbrock.com. It's TERI, one R, WELLBROCK, and check out the landing page that has information about all of the courses and what you will gain from them. Just go check it out and let others know about it. If you know anybody looking for some guidance, a way to build their coping skills toolbox and learn about the impact of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and resilience and hope. There's actually hope science, and we talk about that. And yeah, just a great resource, I think, at least from the feedback from the beta testers, that they said, oh my gosh, Terry, this is so jam-packed with information, which is exactly what I wanted. So to help others build those toolboxes and learn to be your own hero on the 10-day and go from surviving to thriving on the 30-day. So, all right. Well, thank you again for being here. I feel blessed to be doing this as my soul work, and just so glad you're here. All right, now for the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Terry Wellbrock, and so very thrilled to have with me today Dr. Virginia Johnson, and I'm going to read her bio or part of her bio. It's an amazing bio from her website. So Dr. Johnson is a licensed neuropsychologist and certified mental health integrative medicine practitioner who has been diagnosing and treating cognitive-related disorders since 2008. She incorporates principles of faith and neuroscience into the understanding of the human mind and its functions. So welcome, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Again, I'm just thrilled to death to have you here. The work you're doing in the world is just amazing and beautiful. And so we're here to talk about some faith components. We're here to talk about, I told you beforehand, I love the name of your ebook, the Trauma Sur-thrival Kit. That's so awesome.
Yes.
Emotional first aid revolutionized. So so let the audience know who you are and what you're doing.
All right. Well, like you said, as part of my training, I'm a neuropsychologist. That's what I went to school for, and I've practiced in that for years. But currently, I am the Chief Servant Officer of Christian Therapists on Demand, and so that's a teletherapy platform where we connect therapists to clients across the country. All of the sessions take place using our platform or an app, and it allows them to incorporate their faith into their counseling. So I worked in corporate leadership for years. And one of the things that we found is that our organization struggled with, not just our organization, but organizations in general, with getting a timely appointment for mental health clinicians and clients. And so we found that people were wanting their appointments when they wanted them. And we found that they also wanted to know, do they offer Christian counseling? And so that's when Christian Therapist on Demand was born, and we've been serving individuals in that capacity ever since.
So I love the idea of the telehealth. Wow, with the pandemic, how that has kind of blossomed onto the scene in giving people so much more flexibility in being able to just reach someone. But I had not yet heard of incorporating the faith part of it, because really the holistic part is mind, body, spirit, and that spirit part of it, we need that as humans, but as survivors, especially those of us with trauma history, that faith part of it is huge.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that they found, there was a research study, and they checked in with psychiatrists and other mental health clinicians, and they asked how often they inquired about an individual's faith and how they may have utilized that in their life. And they found about 50 to 56% or so asked about faith. But what they found is that those people who did inquire about faith and how their faith community, their connections, that they were able to utilize that as part of their strength-based approach to their care, as well as getting that person to see that as a resource. And they found that with incorporating and utilizing that, that not only were affirmations more powerful because they were able to incorporate spiritual beliefs, biblical references to those affirmations and their whole cognitive behavioral approach, but that the impact lasted longer than just say affirmations without that scriptural basis. So pretty
Yes.
interesting.
Well, the word that comes
Yeah.
to my mind is resilience. And I know being community is such a big part of resilience. And again,
Mm-hmm.
with like ACEs studies and the resilience part of it. And now I
Yeah.
think the latest and greatest is PCEs, positive childhood experiences. And so,
Oh yes,
yeah,
that's the flip point of that. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And having that faith foundation really, it really is a part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Having something that you can draw on. Yeah,
Yes.
it's definitely it's huge as you move from that survivor to thriver phase of your journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So now who's your target audience? Who do you hope to reach?
Uh, Individuals seeking relief from, I would say, emotional distress. One of the things that we do find ourselves is it's Christian therapists on demand. So, targeting those believers in the Christian community. I think that so many times believers get this narrative that to seek professional counseling would indicate that you somehow are not receiving God's healing power, or somehow that you're rejecting your faith of some sort. And so we just want people to know that seeking professional help is an act of faith, right? That being able to combine and know that, hey, it's okay to love Jesus, seek professional help, right? Because God wants us to have that fullness of life. And I think that being able to tap into therapy with someone who can give you that emotional support is critical. And so just that community who would be able to like, hey, it's okay. Come on in, get some support. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you addressed that because it really I've heard it before where people almost feel guilty because they haven't been able to pray it away, or like my
Right.
faith isn't strong enough because I just,
Mm-hmm.
do I not believe in God, Jesus, whatever their faith is enough
Right.
to make it better. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that therapy can move us towards, especially if they connect with someone who can help them with their journey, connect where they are spiritually. Because it's not about imposing one's own spiritual belief onto the person, but capturing where they are in their spiritual journey and helping them to through the process, utilizing their those beliefs and their faith on their journey. But I think that it moves us towards the fullness that God has for us. If because a lot of the burdens that people may carry are not theirs to carry, right? But being able to learn those skills and be like, I'm not responsible for that, right? And being able to understand it, I think that it's freeing, and just being able to connect with someone who can help them work through those things, I think is definitely empowering, and it helps them to move forward in their journey.
Yes, beautiful. Now, how does the app work? Is it interactive that a person is engaged with a trauma or a mental health professional?
Right. So what happens is they go to the App Store on the Google Play Store or iTunes. They download the app, and then they're asked a few questions. So they just go through the sign up process. They choose a plan, and what they find is that based on their preferences, things that they said that they were looking for help with, then they're connected with a therapist with that experience. And the sessions all take place there on the phone. So they send a message to the therapist responds, and they have video visits, and they can do text messaging and video messaging, and yeah, and the process begins.
Wow, that is just, I mean, again, it's so amazing to be able to just have that support right there, really in your hand.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Definitely right in your pocket.
right. I talk so often about hope for healing, and hope is such an underlying theme of everything that I
Mm.
do. And I know it certainly helped me along my healing journey. And that is just really, like you said, like having hope in your pocket, which is just awesome.
Right.
That's like a
I
tagline.
like that. I like that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, one of the other things we talked about before hitting record, and I talked a few seconds about it in your intro, is your ebook. Not just surviving, but thriving. Can you
Right.
talk a little bit about that to us?
Yeah, one of the things that we find, or that I found working with individuals who are survivors of trauma, is that trauma has a way of hijacking someone's identity, and a person begins to call themselves by their pain. And it just makes it to where they are no longer just who they are, but they become what they've experienced. And so it's sometimes people find themselves quote unquote stuck in where they were because something happens with that trauma, and it just sort of impedes, and it keeps them there. And so one of the things about the thriving part is that it helps. How do I become more than my pain? How do I turn my pain into purpose? What can I take from my story, right, and allow it to illuminate God's glory? Even though it was hard, it was hurtful, I'm not going to allow this experience to rob me of everything, right? There is something out of here that I have to take along with me on this journey. And this, I didn't take a loss for nothing. And so that's what it's about, right? It's about being able to say, you know what? I'm looking around. What do I have left? What am I choosing to actively take with me, right? As my banner that, hey, not only did I survive, but I'm thriving. And so, with that thriving, it gives people real life things to, hey, what can I begin to do? Where do I start? And so, one of the things we talk about in the book is this R5 process. And it just talks about being able to reframe your thinking, being able to reconstruct your thinking, and various things as to how you look at the trauma and how you begin to tell your story about what has happened. And so it's basically it's a lot of that, and it's the education as well. Sometimes we just start off with a basic understanding of, say, a psychological code blue. Working in the hospital, I hear a lot of code blues, and so a lot of it is, hey, that's where you get all of these resources together and you respond in an urgent manner, right? Because you're trying to save life, limb. You're there to to see what you can do. But sometimes people experience these psychological code blues, but there's no emergency response. And what happens is what's left is somebody has a death of their hope, a death of purpose, a death of where it is that they feel like they should be in life, right? These should be places. And so being able to help them say, hey, yes, you've experienced this particular loss, you've experienced this psychological code blue, but there is hope. Right? There's hope. And so being able to say, you know what? There is hope. What is your story? And let us rewrite this story, because the pain does not have to be the only one telling the story here, right? Just what happened to you. So being able to take those raw materials and build something that is beautiful. And so understanding what's happening in the brain, right? What's going on when a person is experiencing these psychological code blues. One of the things about the brain that's just amazing is that the whole concept of time, it doesn't have a specific clock. Like, okay, that happened Thursday, October 17th, 2001, right? When a person hears a certain sound and it triggers something inside of them, it's like as if it's happening right now, right? And so being able to help them understand, like, okay, I have to learn how to turn off that trigger response because my brain doesn't understand that concept of time, and it's telling me right now what's happening right now when in fact it's not. Right. And so being able to understand and have like, okay, gosh, we talk about like, say, the limbic system, and we talk about how there are those 4 components. So we just give some overall knowledge about what's going on and helping them to sort of walk through it. Like, okay, the noise I hear, that's not an intruder coming into my house. Those are those kids going by with their annoying skateboards, right? That's not that shadow over there in the distance. That's not an intruder. That's not someone coming to attack me. Those are the trees blowing. And so helping them to first understand that their mind might first want to go to what their experience was. But that's just that amygdala sounding the alarm, right? It just misfiled information. And so helping them to, hey, once that happened, stop, breathe, because that the cortex is going to click in and it's going to tell you that that was just a tree. Right. And so helping them to understand and pace themselves so they can feel equipped to take back their story, to take back their mind with regards to their recovery. And so that's what that process is.
Wow, on so much of that. I'd never heard of the psychological code blue. That's brilliant. I mean, like I literally like envisioned it because you do see it in a hospital, code blue, tung, 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 they're
Right.
someone's heart. But when you do go into those moments of code blue, I know with me, I had panic attacks for 25 years and severe panic attacks. Those were psychological code blues. I mean, truly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Brilliant.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And one of the other things you said was rewriting the story. And it's so very true because for those who are sitting in a place right now, and anyone who's listening who may be thinking, I can't rewrite it. It truly can be done. I know I'm living proof of it. And I've talked to so many people who've done that healing work. And some of what you were talking about is that brain plasticity and being able to change those neuron pathways and our habitual patterns. And yes.
Right. Right. Definitely. I think that one of the things that you mentioned, like sometimes it's that stuck feeling like they may desire to, right? But how do you rewrite the story when it feels like what's left anyway, right? But one of the things I say is first stop, breathe. Let's just start there. Let's just breathe. And if we can just begin to just breathe. What begins to happen is we have that, the breath, that additional oxygen, it relaxes, it sends a message to the nervous system to relax, it lowers our blood pressure, the cortisol levels, right? And then it increases those other feel-good neurochemicals, right? The serotonin, epinephrine, all of those things, right? That begins to get into our bloodstream and it relaxes us. When we're in a relaxed state, then we're more open to be able to get to a place where we can think that it's possible. Right? Because at that state, you can't even think that it's possible. And so, but when we get to the point, it's like, let's first try to get our body, get our breathing, get that regulated. That's something that's within our control. It's very easy. And then just... And then if we can begin to look at what are some things, one of the things we can start with is language. One thing is, what am I saying to myself? Right? Because it's important. Language, when we look at the brain, sometimes if we were to liken it to an organ, we can liken it to like the brain is the organ, it's just like the hardware on the computer. Okay, it's the hardware. But then what makes our computers turn on and we get online, and that's that coding language, right? Software, these different things. That's what our language is. That's what allows the computer to function, right? Otherwise, it's just the hardware. And so that's us. Our language is what allows us to function. And our internal dialogue is critical to that. Our brains are very visual. So when we use language, generally most of us tend to say what we don't want, right? Hey, what's for dinner? I don't know. I don't want tacos. I don't want chicken. I don't know, right? But being able to get to the point to where we can be specific, then our brains will respond to that. So for example, if I say the word car, what comes to mind?
Well, my car,
Oh, a
driving,
car.
right?
Okay. If I say flower, what comes to mind?
The flowers in my yard.
Okay, so flowers, you can see that, right? A picture. It tags a memory, it tags something. If I say can't,
Can't.
won't, uh-huh,
Right.
won't, or don't. Do you get a
Yeah.
visual for those?
No, I just
Because
think
one of the things,
negative. Yeah.
right. Well, one of the things that's amazing about the brain is that it is visual. And so when we say flower, our brains is like, okay, we picture things, our gardens, we picture a time when someone brought us flowers, things like that. That tags a connection in our brain. But when we say the word can't, don't, want, our brain doesn't process those as efficiently as it does things that have an actual visual picture. And so what happens is that say if someone is struggling with insomnia and they say, oh, I don't want to be up all night. Well, what you said is, I want to be up all night. Don't. Because your brain did not process the don't because it's not connected to a visual thing. And so it's recreating what it is that you don't desire. And so one of the things that it's critical is that if we can just start with our language and being able to say what we want. Tonight, I will sleep throughout the night, right? That's starting there. Let's start with what we want. And I think that being able to, one, breathe, focus on what do I want? And it doesn't matter how big it seems, but just start there. What do I want? And then you can begin to reverse engineer it to get there. But first, start there. Some vision, okay? And then they can begin to that's how you begin to rewrite your story. Start with
Yeah.
where you want to go, and
Oh
then
my
you reverse engineer it to get there. Okay.
God.
And then the last thing, as far as you said, some things that they could do is one of the things that I love is that, like, I believe that, hey, herbs are for healing. That when the Bible talks about herbs being for healing, and there are things out there that are just super amazing that people can use that helps with relaxation. If they're depressed, they can make a herbal tea, tinctures, things like that. Being able to take advantage of perhaps what's available, and so those are things that I've also have found to be helpful. Just say if someone was dealing with, say, insomnia, since we were talking about that particular topic, but being able to have one of those teas that may help them to relax, say an hour before bed, those kinds of things, looking at what may be available. And so those are just some things that I think that are some simple things. One, breathing. Two, starting where they are and then what they want, then reverse engineering their story so they can rewrite it, and just finding something that, like some herbal tea, something like that, that could help them as they go through that process.
Thank you so much. I'm a herbal tea proponent. If my throat's hurting me, I'll say, "Oh, I think I'll look up what'll be the best tea for this." And so I'll do
Mm-hmm.
like a honey lemon tea. Or yesterday,
Right.
yesterday I think I had a lavender chamomile, and it was delicious. So
That sounds
yeah,
good.
wonderful.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
love
good.
it. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
have to share.
go ahead.
I have this in one of the things that I have, like, in this first aid kit, is I have one of these. It's a quick resource, and it just has some topics that say someone may be experiencing maybe some, like I said, some insomnia, some anxiety or depression, as well as like some biblical references and some quick little actions. And I can share that with you, and you can feel free to share it to your listeners.
Yes, absolutely. So that
Yeah.
they can find that on your website. Yes.
Yeah, if they were to download the book, then they can find that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's available, but just as a resource, yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And how do people find you? How do they get in touch with you?
As far as me, if they were looking for the book, they would go to the HPS for the Human Performance Strategist. So it's THEHPS.me. But for Christian Therapist on Demand, they would go to ChristianTherapistOD.com or look us up in the Google Play Store or iTunes at Christian Therapist on Demand.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my gosh, it's just amazing. And again, I love going back just a second to what you were talking about of illuminating. I know when I do my work, so many times I'll just send up a little prayer to the Holy Spirit and say, please help me to shine your light, God's light
Mm-hmm.
into the world through my work. And so that has given me purpose. I took that pain and made purpose out of
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Yes.
it's amazing how much shifted just
Mhm.
by shifting that perspective and that approach. Yeah.
That is the truth. I want to commend you. That's awesome. But that insight, right? And to be able to do that, that's good stuff there.
Thanks. Thanks so much. Awesome. All right. Well, let me take a look at my questions because we did what I said we were going to do, and we went right on down the road, and
Oh,
we only got to 2 questions so far. So
okay.
so really, I mean, we don't have much time left. So is there anything that you wanted to touch upon that we haven't had a chance to
Hmm.
address?
Let's see. So we really, I would just say definitely connecting with connecting with other uh, believers, other people who have thrived, and they are they've learned to go through that process of rewriting their story. Connect with those individuals. It can be tempting to sit in the pain because it's comfortable, because you know what it's like, you know what to expect, right? And it's going to be uncomfortable to stretch yourself beyond what you see. But part of that growth is the stretching. That's what it is, that shift. If you want that shift to come, that shift is going to come when you get up. So many times we're wanting change. However, change comes when we allow ourselves to move out of where we are to somewhere else because it comes with a different perspective. If I stand up, I see things differently, right? I'm able to see things further away. I gain a different perspective versus if I was sitting down or if I was laying down. So if there was anything, I would just say rise up, connect with other people, get a different perspective. You are not your pain. Your identity has been hijacked, but there is more to your story. And so, just encouraging people to reach out, connect with other people. Christian Therapist on Demand is a great resource to help you with learning how to rewrite your story, getting beyond the pain and going into purpose. Because I'm telling you, nothing can stop when you get connected, when you are working in your purpose, you're passionate. And if you partner with God, I'm telling you, those things happen. And so don't worry about how it's going to happen, but go, stand up and go. You
Yes,
may not
I
know where you're
say
going.
amen and hallelujah
Yes.
to all of that because it's so true. I mean,
So,
yeah, I know for me, again, you're speaking to my soul because one of the things I write about, I'm finishing up my book manuscript, and one of the things I write about is how in 2013 I experienced what I call the shift. And my editor
mm,
actually said, really need to clarify what you mean by the shift because like everybody would just know what I was talking about, but it really did happen, and there was this sort of awakening of that I needed to look at it from different perspectives. And so, yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, wow. Gosh, again, well, thank you for having me, and I enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here, the beautiful work you're doing in the world, and yeah, for sharing your insights.
All right.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Terry Welbrock again. just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.terrywellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, terrywellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for, again, healing and hope strategies. My daughter is a teenager and she loves Office Ladies podcast, so we've been listening to that driving in the car because she's just learning to drive, and so she likes to drive everywhere we go, and she'll turn on Office Ladies, and it's just been so awesome to listen to another podcast and love listening to them talk about their sponsorships. So I thought I'm going to start talking about what it is I can offer to folks. So thanks for, again, being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.